Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa Podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa Podcast. We have in our studio, well, we usually have two talented and intelligent gentlemen, but we only have one today, and that's Mr. Jamie Wilson III, my co-host. We're truly excited to have as our guests two well-known and highly respected members of our faith-based community, Reverend Andy Oliver and Pastor Dr. MANUEL Sykes, leaders of Allendale United Methodist Church and Bethel Community Baptist Church, respectively. Because of their obvious love for this city and their long-term and consistent activism, both gentlemen have garnered widespread support throughout the community. Reverend Oliver and Dr. Sykes are here to share their knowledge, insights, and perspectives on city issues such as Tropicana Field Development Project, League of Women Voters survey about the same, and the Deuces Housing Project. Welcome to the Ray Tampa Podcast, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We certainly are pleased that you're here. On February 27th, 2024, the Tampa Bay Times published an article written by Colleen Wright titled, quote, "Who's for and against the Tampa Bay Rays stadium deal? Here's the scorecard," end of quote. Reverend Oliver, you are prominently mentioned or identified in the beginning of the article. Please share with us your particular concerns about the stadium deal.
I think this is a horrible deal for the city, right? We're underselling land, giving it away, land that is the most precious commodity for our city, public land. We're giving away tax dollars to build a private stadium, over $1 billion after interest. Every single aspect of this deal is horrible for the city. We're doing some good things, kind of hidden in there, which I think the Rays just consider the cost of doing business, right? So, yes, we need to fund a Woodson Museum. Yes, we need affordable housing. But even if we look at the affordable housing that's included in the deal, there's no teeth. The community benefits group saw that. The developer will be able to buy out of those affordable houses, and they're not even going to be on site. And the timeline for the affordable housing isn't going to make a dent in our current situation. But I keep going back to giving away our tax base, tax dollars to a private company that makes $1 billion a year. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Okay. Certainly, I appreciate those comments. And reportedly, Reverend Oliver, you're working with other groups in opposition to the stadium deal. Who are these other groups?
So there's a lot of groups that are very interested in seeing that justice is done in our city. Among these groups, we found ourselves in some of the same circles at the same meetings.
Exactly.
With Faith in Florida and others. The League of Women Voters has taken a very strong oppositional stance to this. Everyone from Democratic Socialists to just citizens on the right and the left that don't want to see their tax dollars, again, going toward a private company for a baseball stadium.
Okay. Excellent. Pastor, when was the group Faith in Florida founded?
Now, honestly, I can't tell you that. It's a recent group,
Recent?
within the last 5 years, I believe. Along with the group called Equal Ground, they tend to work more so with voting rights. But Faith in Florida is not an old group, but they are a powerful voice because they are diverse. And what I definitely want to say about this stadium deal, the opposition is diverse. Now, we look back at how this land was acquired. The African American residents there were bullied and pushed out. What is justice when you do that and 40 years later you have an opportunity to fix it? You give it back. You give it back in a way that makes it possible for the people who live here to remain here. That is ultimately justice. But to add insult to injury, they're giving that land away to billionaires. And the attitude is just as determined as it was 40 years ago. We're going to do it come hell or high water. Back then, of course, they were completely Caucasian. Now we got a mixture. We got a black mayor. We got people who have intimate contact and relationships with that area who are doggedly determined to give it away to please some billionaires. Ask yourself how many of the raised top level executives are there, and then you measure that against how many voters you have in St. Petersburg. And you realize that for them to have that kind of leverage over the city and its deep pockets, evidently, something is definitely wrong. It's not a moral issue. It is a moral issue. It is an ethical issue. And I really believe it's one of those things that's done in the midnight hour on the golf courses, out on the yacht. And I believe that African Americans who go along with it, it ceases to be simply a racial thing. It's a class thing. You have a core of African Americans here that consider themselves middle to upper class. They don't share values with the people who lived in the gas plant or their descendants. So there's a disconnect, and they generally will side with those that are above them socially, racially, as well as economically. They don't have to take a dime for this, but they will line up on the side of the oppressor for the purpose of being admired and accepted. Good job. Well done, boy. And that is something that not only am I against, many people, white, black, affluent and non-affluent, are against. And then ultimately, I know from being a pastor and knowing my Bible that God is against this injustice. God is against it. And whereas they have determined that they're going to force it down the throats of the city and its citizenry, I believe, I pray for God to extend his hand, whether it be through a gathering of people or supernaturally, to show that this kind of accursed oppression of poor and working poor is not something that he's going to sit idly by and watch.
Well, you said quite a bit there, and what you said speaks to the point that I stated earlier. The two of you have a reputation or have reputations in our community as strong fighters against injustice, strong fighters against racism, strong fighters against discrimination, and strong fighters against what's not right. What's not right. And you spelled it out quite a bit there. I want to ask you, actually, you did answer quite a few of my follow-up questions in your conversation there, so I won't ask the questions. You've already answered them. But I will ask you this, Pastor Sykes, who or what specifically caused the Southern Poverty Law Center to get involved in the matter of this development?
Faith in Florida, and of course, some of my urging to find people whose historic purpose is to fight against injustice. When I was at a meeting of the city council a couple of months ago, I noticed in their budget that they had $1.8 million for legal fees. I asked the question, whose legal fees?
Mm.
And I asked, well, are those legal fees in there for people who oppose it? Well, I was asked to sit down. After the city, they referred to the city attorney. $1.8 million is in there to pay attorneys if there should be some legal changes or whatever is necessary. Okay. You're going to pay to raise attorneys and maybe a few city hired attorneys to go in with their crayons and act like they're changing something that they're really not. It may be language. Ask yourself if lawyers can see a $1.8 million line item for them if they're not going to find a way to eat it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than he's done for the entire South Side. $1.8 million for lawyers to help scribe a deal that they've already made up their minds they're going to do. That's the kind of stuff that we see happening. So this whole idea of a stadium, no mayor until Christman tried to work this deal. And the only way he could sweeten the deal was to throw in the African American historic community. Not only the gas plant, but on 22nd Street, because he started by taking over Tangerine Plaza. And he's done everything in his power. He took an unsolicited bid for the use of Sylvia's. Out of the timeline, when RFPs are closed, nobody should be able to get it. He takes an unsolicited bid for a non-African American restaurant to populate that. Okay, they fail, so they hand it over to another primarily African American investment group. Okay, and the city who owns the building didn't fix the roof or the AC. They lost money and ultimately lost the deal and lost their own personal investments. Now they're getting ready to build some townhouses, affordable, which means 120% of the AMI. I guarantee you, if they can get $19 million to subsidize that, they're going to fix that air conditioning and they're going to fix that roof, because they know when they gentrify that area, white people are going to need a nice restaurant, white and affluent, let me put it that way, because the population number says predominantly white, but those also ran class-oriented Negroes are going to want to be right there. That's what's happening. I can see it plain as a vision. This is about surplus, or let's just say subsidized gentrification. Okay, 600 million for the raise, and you can't fix the AC and the roof. And I was there at the meeting where the mayor said, well, I'm not going to be pressured by a small group into doing something. Well, it seemed like he'd been pressured by another small group to do a whole lot of something.
So he's picking his small groups to work with.
Listen, Tangerine Plaza is being bidded upon, and we know it's not going to go to the food pantry and the idea that Pastor Brubaker has put there. It's going to go as a political favor to somebody who is in that class level or higher, to add more gentrification amenities. That whole place, just like when Christman was able to go and get 2.2 million all of a sudden to get at the front of that loan, he was able to magically get it out of some rabbit. Now you got that same Tangerine Plaza owned by the city along with 86 acres. Okay. And now the city bought what? More property. So they are amassing not only money and land, but they're doing a whole overhaul of the population and destroying every remnant of African American history called the Deuces.
Okay, well, certainly I appreciate everything you've had to say about that, and I want to move on to a different subject, if you don't mind, and we can come back a little later if we have time. Between January 20th, 2024, and February 5th, 2024, the League of Women Voters conducted an important survey of St. Petersburg's residents about the stadium deal. Nearly 800 respondents to the survey yielded some very enlightening results. Are the two of you familiar with that survey?
I am.
You are, but you're not.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go to you, Reverend Oliver.
Wait a minute, just one second. I did take a survey online, but I didn't know if it came from them or not, but that's probably the one.
Probably was.
Okay. Well, moving on to one of the questions relative to that survey. One particular question resulted in 80% of the residents opposing the deal. 80% of those respondents opposing the deal and wanting the city and county to negotiate a better deal. Reverend Oliver, what are your thoughts?
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised.
I've been knocking on doors for someone running for city council. And when I knock on the door of a Republican or an independent or a Democrat, they want to know where this person stands on the Trop deal. And all of them are happy when I say he wants the raise to stay, but he doesn't think that we should be giving away our tax dollars to build a stadium. All of them across the board. We're seeing you know, on that list you gave at the beginning of the podcast, there are both people that are very much on the left and very far on the right that are against this deal. The League of Women Voters have done their research. They've done their homework. They have experts. Their research shows that there's never been a stadium deal to benefit and come back and benefit the community. We're better off to have more economic development. One article said to build a Macy's. That should tell you something.
Okay.
This survey reminds us that in cities where city councils and other government officials have supported a deal like this, many of them have been voted out afterwards because it is so unpopular. So I'm thankful for the good work of the League of Women Voters, and I think we've got another survey, a poll being done by a professional polling company by another group soon to come out that's going to show similar results. And these are likely voters that they polled. And I want to just quickly, briefly go back to you said talking about legal stuff with Southern Poverty Law Center. Our legal system is designed and set up to protect wealth, and specifically, historically, white wealth in this country. That's what that $1.8 million or $1.2 million you said going to legal fees is going to be supporting, is protecting wealth, not helping people, working class people, and people who are poor. That's why it's so important to have Southern Poverty Law Center in here that has millions and millions of dollars in the bank and has unlimited capacity to stand on the side of justice. It's important to have them to equal the playing field. They are fighting right now in Eatonville and saving Eatonville's land, where the school board's trying to sell it from underneath them from the Hungerford property that was supposed to be left for the education of Black children. They're saving that land from luxury condos. That's what the school board of Orange County wants to do with it. They're fighting in Royal, a historically Black community, where they receive 40 acres and a mule in Royal. The city wants to build the turnpike extension through their land. They're there fighting for that land as well, and now they're here. And I believe, ultimately, no matter what the vote is on city council, I think the Southern Poverty Law Center is going to stop this deal from moving forward.
Wow. Wow. That's good. Pastor Sykes, you want to?
Well, I do admire the work of the League of Women Voters. I've seen them at work, and I think they do an outstanding job. One thing that occurs to me is you hear the mayor talking about he's going around and listened to the community. And the feedback he's got or that he reports is that they're in favor of this. But now you got the League of Women Voters, where 800 in statistical terms amounts to 8,000 people. Okay, 10% roughly respond to surveys. I guarantee he did not see 8,000 people, and I guarantee you that the percentages of approval versus disapproval are entirely different. Polls, as you know, with elections, it depends on who does it and for what purpose. At the end of the day, even people that are doing the exit polls will lie to you, and you won't know until the votes come in. So this whole idea about listening to the community is a dog and pony show. The fact of the matter is, I believe in professionals. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan group, okay? But they work for the people, and they attempt to assure equal access to votes and so forth. In this particular case, they want the voters to speak, and they have. They have, and another independent poll that'll come out will support that. So what we have here is a determination to give hundreds of millions to billionaires and to try to make us think that this is rain with a tinted color.
I'm going to ask the two of you this. And Jay, do you have anything you want to ask?
Oh, I mean, I agree with everything they're saying, and even when I went to the Palladium, they listened to the special interest groups and like they were just willing to give the whole city away just for it. And I left a nasty taste in my mouth. So this
Okay.
is just more of the same.
Okay, and that's the time that they had the meeting at the
The
Coliseum
Coliseum, not Palladium,
about
Coliseum.
who
Right.
might get the
Yeah.
contract to develop Tropicana
Correct.
Field.
Correct.
He had not made a decision at that
No,
point.
no decision.
The four contestants were presenting that night.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, the decision really had been made because
Okay.
people from Sugar Hill told me that the Rays called them and told them they had it.
Mm.
So the decision was made. It hadn't been announced.
Okay.
Once again, another dog and pony
Mhm.
show.
Right.
Okay, so what you're saying, Sykes, Pastor Sykes, is there's some dishonesty on the part of the mayor.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And anybody that says that this is for the community and that the community want this, polls say it's a lie.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about equity inclusion. You got gentrification. You got affordable 120% AMI, houses being built, subsidized by the city while the poor people are being forced out. I heard some number with about 10% of the Black community has been forced out of this area. If you want to act like that's equity inclusion, that's just a lie. Okay, it's a lie. In the morning, in the noonday, at midnight, it's just a lie.
Okay. I want to move to another question on that survey. There was a suggestion that 78% of the respondents indicated that taxpayer funds should not be used to fund a stadium deal, period. You have spoken strongly on this particular issue. You have any comments?
Well, I believe you were working with FAST along with me
Mhm.
when we were going to the county
Mhm.
asking for money for workforce housing,
Correct.
and they were claiming they had no money.
There was no money to be
Okay.
had.
Then we asked them if they would use pennies for Pinellas, a certain small portion to set aside that with county land. Okay. The first year they did it, the second year they reneged. Okay. How do you come up with 300 million and another 300 million? It's people's tax dollars that are being diverted to the pockets of the wealthy. Okay. It is not a shell game. It's a determined writing a check and passing that check right in front of us over to the Rays. That's what we're dealing with. And every number I believe in that survey will say the same thing. Our tax dollars, what did they do at the Boston Tea Party? No taxation without representation. We're not being represented. If they had come up and said tenants for Pinellas, I think that's supposed to be about 100 million. They could have made that excuse, but they're taking money that they've lied for a couple of decades, saying they didn't have the city as well as the county, and now hocus pocus. That's the kind of unethical, immoral, and on heavenly levels at least illegal activity that's going on.
When we bring up these issues, we have a city council person sitting in her seat that claims she's just tired of all this and we just need to, approve this and move on. We've been at this for a long time. And so she's ready to just move on.
Approve it and move on.
That's right. She's tired. She's tired.
Wow.
Well, I think she's tired of hearing the other voices because they don't hear your and mine. They don't listen.
That's right.
So the pressure's coming from other places. Okay. And let's face it, we can ask for a meeting as fast as been doing and be deflected and delayed. I guarantee you that one of the Rays or somebody from the Chamber of Commerce picks up the phone, they get an answer on the first ring.
Let me share with you what one person who used to be on city council called me up. He's a conservative. He's also against this deal.
Okay.
It's very close with the Rays owner. He told me that in conversations with the Rays, they refer to people like the Honorable Gwen Reese and Terry Lipsey Scott as the cost of doing business.
Wow.
The way that they said, how much more are they going to nickel and dime me, is what he said. That's how they talk about these people behind their back.
Behind their backs.
Behind their backs.
Now they should hear this.
They need to hear it because they need to hear how they're being talked about. I think the world of both of them, but they're being treated a very harmful way by the Rays and being used so that they can further line, the Rays can further line their pockets.
Very interesting comment there. Very interesting. I want to move on because we only have a short time left here. This question is posed to the two of you. Given the survey results and the comments you previously offered, both of you, are you able to identify at least two aspects of this stadium deal that are positive in terms of benefits to the community? Now, Reverend Oliver, you did mention the museum and you mentioned housing.
Sure, and we can fund a museum. First of all, this deal doesn't even fully fund the museum.
No, it doesn't.
Right? And it's a joke if anyone thinks it does. We can fund a museum without doing this deal. That this deal isn't necessary to fund the museum. So I'd say as the deal stands now, no, there's nothing positive that I can lift up out of this deal.
Okay, Sykes.
Those are just, as he said, the cost of doing business, but even more so, it's cheese in a mousetrap. They'll go after that little bit of cheese and get trapped in the middle of all that's going on around them. They are operating under the illusion that it's going to be okay for them. But what they don't understand is that when the wealthy finish with you, there's nothing left of you. They're not going to spend a dime on rehabilitating their reputations. And if by some means the museum doesn't get finished, what wealthy people say is, sue me.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop at this point because we're at the end, but I need to throw this in the mix. Certainly, I appreciate everything the two of you have had to say. I appreciate it. My co-host Jamie does as well, and I'm sure the listening audience appreciate it. Whether they agree or not, that's on them. But I will say that the Ray Tampa podcast tries to give fair balance. So I've tried to reach out to some people that are pro stadium to give them an opportunity to come and share their perspectives, their views, their knowledge, whatever they want to say. So I just wanted to throw that out. But in ending this program, thanks to the two of you for being here. My God, I do appreciate it. Thanks to my co-host for the contributions he make to the Ray Tampa podcast each and every week. I want to say to the listening audience, we do appreciate you tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast, and we ask that you do so each and every Tuesday evening, 5:30 p.m. on 99.1 The Bird. And sponsorships are welcome. With all of that being said, good evening.